Tim Duncan just fired back at LeBron James, and the basketball world instantly went sideways. The one legend who stayed silent for 2 full decades, dodged every debate, ignored every camera, and never chased a headline has finally spoken.
A while back, I did a show talking about LeBron James being disingenuous, and one of the things I discussed on that was him saying how he is considering whether or not he would actually want to do a walk away quietly like Tim Duncan at the end of his career, or if he wants to do the farewell tour like Kobe and Kareem and those guys. And my whole thing was, it's this.
And the response hit harder than any dunk ever could. This isn't trash talk. This isn't stat flexing. This is legacy warfare. This is about respect, credibility, and who actually earned their seat at the table. And things are about to get uncomfortable real fast, because when the quietest champion in NBA history breaks his silence, people lean in. So let's rewind to where this whole storm really started. Early January 2025. LeBron James is doing exactly what LeBron always does, controlling the conversation. He's on one of those laid-back media sit-downs, smiling, relaxed, feeling himself, ready to steer the narrative wherever he wants it to go.
And the one I can draw the parallel to is this. Is anybody going to sit here and tell me in their right mind that Barry Sanders is not one of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of the Spurs,
100%.
regardless of just being a football player?
Right.
They came close to maybe, advancing through the playoffs.
Not that close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my point
you're right.
But my point being, you wouldn't have a discussion about great players in the NFL without including Barry Sanders. But this is a different discussion. This is a very, when you're talking about winning,
They start with the usual praise, longevity, dominance, still competing at 40. Nothing new there. But then the interviewer asks the question everyone knows is coming. Where does LeBron rank all time? That's when LeBron leans forward, locks in, and gives that look. The one that says he's been holding this in. Look, LeBron says, I respect everyone who came before me, but let's be real about something. And right there, the tone shifts. 5 rings don't mean what they used to. The game's different now. The competition is different. Some guys played with the same superstar teammates their entire career, in one system with one coach.
Great coaching, persistence, drive, love for the game. We remember what happened last year and how it felt in that locker room, and we used it and built on it, and got back here, and it's amazing. It makes last year okay.
17 years you have toiled side by side with Greg Popovich. What makes that relationship so special?
His fire, he brings it every year.
That's not what I did. He keeps pressing. Different cities, different systems, different generations of talent. He frames himself as the ultimate test case, the guy who had to prove it everywhere, every time. I've got the stats, the championships, the finals, MVPs, the all-around game. I've been to 10 finals. I carried multiple franchises, and I'm still doing it at 40. So when we talk about the greatest ever, what more do you need to see? The interviewer tries to step in, but LeBron isn't slowing down now. Some legends had it easier than they want to admit, he adds. Fewer elite teams. Dynasties built for them by front offices. I built mine the hard way. That's just facts.
Start David.
Okay.
Bench Manu, and I'll cut the French boy. Can I do it again?
Wait, I got start, bench, cut. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James.
No, I refuse to answer that one.
You can't plead the fifth.
I will start all 3 of them and cut and bench myself.
That is a correct answer. That's a correct answer. Okay, how about this? This is one of...
And just like that, the clip detonates. Within hours, it's everywhere. Twitter lights up. Instagram fills with reaction videos. TikTok breaks the clip down line by line. Every word gets dissected, replayed, and argued over. And here's the part that really matters. LeBron never says a single name. He doesn't need to. Everyone knows exactly who he's pointing at. The comments explode. He's talking about Duncan and the Spurs. Those championships were easier. Finally, someone said it. 5 rings with one organization isn't the same. And then the pushback hits just as hard. Imagine needing to convince people you're the GOAT. Duncan never said any of this. 5 rings is 5 rings, period. Sports shows jump all over it. The hot take factory goes into overdrive. Every analyst picks a side. But what nobody saw coming was the response that was quietly loading in the background. Because while LeBron was dominating headlines somewhere in San Antonio, the most low-key champion the league has ever seen, was paying attention. And for the first time in 20 years, Tim Duncan was bothered. Now understand why that matters. Tim Duncan played 19 seasons, won 5 championships, 3 finals MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, 15 All-NBA selections. A resume that speaks louder than any microphone ever could. And through every single GOAT debate, every argument, every viral clip, Duncan stayed silent. No campaigns, no interviews, no brand building, no narrative crafting. He didn't sell himself, he just won. Then he went home. While other legends chased commercials and media empires, Duncan was fixing old cars and keeping to himself. No noise, no chest pounding, just banners. And that's exactly why What Happens Next hits so hard. Duncan was out here coaching youth basketball in his spare time. The man retired and barely made a ripple. No farewell tour, no documentary rollout, no dramatic final season, no last dance moment. He played his final game, walked away, and vanished. That's Tim Duncan. That's the anti-celebrity, the anti-brand, the rare superstar who cared so little about attention that it actually turned him into a legend. While everyone else chased cameras, Duncan stayed allergic to the spotlight. His own teammates used to joke that he'd win finals MVP and act like he just finished a regular Tuesday practice. No chest pounding, no emotional speeches, just fundamentals and silence. But here's what people forget about quiet guys like Duncan. They see everything, they hear everything, they remember everything, and when they finally speak, it lands different. It lands heavier because you know it's not for clicks, not for attention, not for a narrative. It's because something crossed a line, and with LeBron's comments, a line got crossed. By mid-January, whispers started moving through basketball circles. Duncan had been spotted at a private charity event. Nothing flashy, just former players, fans, and a good cause. But word travels fast. Someone heard something, then someone told someone else. Then suddenly the rumors were everywhere. Duncan allegedly said something about the new generation rewriting history, about modern players not respecting what came before them. And people close to the situation said he wasn't calm. He was heated. Now pause right there. Tim Duncan doesn't get heated. At least he never shows it publicly. So if people are saying he was bothered, that's not small. That's massive. That's seismic. Then the breadcrumbs started dropping. Manu Ginobili, Duncan's longtime teammate, posts an Instagram story. It's just a photo of championship rings laid out on a table. No caption, no explanation, no emojis, but everybody got the message. Then Tony Parker pops up on a podcast. They ask him about the GOAT debate. He smiles and says, "Some players played the game the right way. Team first, ego last, that's real winning." No names mentioned, no shots fired directly, but the timing, way too perfect. The Spurs family was clearly circling the wagons. Still, Duncan himself stayed quiet, and that silence made it louder. That's when people started asking the question nobody ever thought they'd ask. Is the big fundamental finally about to speak? By late January, the entire basketball world was holding its breath. LeBron's comments had been viral for weeks. The debate was everywhere. TV, podcasts, social media, but it felt unfinished. Like everyone was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then the rumors got louder. NBA insiders start tweeting, hearing Tim Duncan may be doing a rare interview soon. Nothing confirmed, but sources close to him say he's open to talking. Another reporter jumps in. But Duncan has been contacted by multiple outlets recently. That alone was shocking. Normally, he declines everything. No interviews, no media tours. But this time, he's actually thinking about it. Speculation goes wild. Is he really going to respond? Is he going to address LeBron directly? What could Duncan possibly say that would matter after all these years? Here's the thing about legends. When they stay silent for 2 decades, their voice becomes priceless. Every word matters. Every sentence becomes a headline. And Duncan knew that. If he was going to speak, it wouldn't be reckless. It wouldn't be emotional rambling. It would be deliberate, precise, and devastating in the quietest way possible. Behind the scenes, Duncan's phone was blowing up. Agents, media executives, former coaches, everyone telling him the same thing. You don't need to respond to this. And that's exactly when you know something big was coming. Some people told him to stay above it, ignore the noise, don't get dragged into the circus, but others kept pushing him. Someone has to set the record straight, and they told him, if not you, then who? Duncan was torn. Part of him truly didn't care. He'd never needed validation, never chased praise, never begged for approval. Why start now? But the other part of him, the competitor, was done watching the story get twisted, done watching his era get brushed aside, Done with the idea that what he and his teammates built somehow wasn't as hard, wasn't as earned, wasn't as meaningful as what today's stars are doing. That implication sat wrong with him. So he made a decision, one interview, one moment, one chance to speak his truth, and then he'd disappear back into his quiet life. What he didn't realize was that what he was about to say would echo through basketball history. January 28th, 2025. Tim Duncan sits down for a rare interview with a respected basketball podcast. Not ESPN, not some loud debate show, a low-key platform. Exactly the kind of place Duncan would choose. The host is clearly nervous. This is the biggest guest he's ever had, and everyone listening knows it. They start safe. Duncan talks about his foundation work, life after basketball, coaching his kids' teams. He's relaxed, smiling, classic Duncan. Humble, grounded, totally comfortable without the spotlight. But about 15 minutes in, the host takes a breath and goes there. Tim, I have to ask, he says. There's been a lot of talk lately about legacies and greatness. LeBron made some comments a few weeks ago that went viral. Have you seen them? And do you have any thoughts? The room shifts. You can feel it. Even through the audio, Duncan pauses. Not because he's unsure, but because he's choosing his words carefully. Then he speaks with that quiet confidence that made him unstoppable on the court. I saw them, Duncan says calmly. I've stayed out of these debates my entire career because I never thought they mattered. I played to win championships. I played to be the best teammate I could be. I played because I loved the game. What people said about me afterward, that was never my concern. The host nods. He knows there's more coming. Duncan continues, but I think there's something important that needs to be said. I'm gonna say it once and then I'm done with it. 5 championships aren't easy. They're not just numbers on a resume. Each one represents years of sacrifice, months of grinding, trusting your teammates when everyone tells you that you need more help, buying into something bigger than yourself. He leans back slightly. I played with incredible players, Tony, Manu, David Robinson before them. But here's what people don't understand. We made each other better because none of us needed to be the guy. We just needed to win. That's a different mentality than what you see today. The host carefully asks, are you saying modern players don't have that mentality? Duncan doesn't hesitate. I'm saying there's a difference between being great and needing everyone to call you great, he says. Some of us play to win, some play to be remembered, and those aren't always the same thing. The silence is brutal. The host tries to pivot, but Duncan isn't finished. Championships aren't about where you played or how many teams you went to, he continues. They're about sacrifice. They're about making your teammates better. They're about showing up every night, not just when the cameras are on and when you have to keep telling people you're the greatest. Duncan pauses, lets it sit. Then he adds quietly, maybe you're trying to convince yourself. That's it. The interview keeps going for another 10 minutes. But it doesn't matter. That clip is already moving. Within an hour, someone posted online. Within 2 hours, it has more views than LeBron's original comments. The basketball world detonates. The big fundamental just dropped the hammer. It's the most direct thing Duncan has ever said, and somehow still respectful. And here's the genius of it. Duncan never says LeBron's name. Not once. He stays calm, measured, precise, but everyone knows exactly who he's talking about. That's why it cuts so deep. No yelling, no arguing, just facts, delivered the most devastating way possible. The fallout is instant and massive. Social media turns into a war zone. Team LeBron versus Team Duncan, stats versus rings, individual greatness versus team success, and the debate is officially out of control. Now, the GOAT debate is officially on steroids. Analysts are breaking down every single word of Duncan's response like it's game film. One commentator says, Tim Duncan has never engaged in this kind of conversation. For him to speak now tells you everything about how he feels about these narratives being pushed. Another analyst pushes back. But is Duncan being fair? They ask. LeBron had to move teams, adapt to different eras, and carry franchises Duncan never had to deal with. Maybe LeBron has every right to defend his legacy. And that's where the generational divide really shows. Younger fans are confused. They grew up in the LeBron era. To them, Duncan feels like a name from a history book. Why does Duncan's opinion even matter? They ask. But older fans get it. They remember Duncan dismantling elite teams year after year with no flash, no theatrics, just fundamentals, discipline, and team basketball. They remember championships built on trust, not highlights and social media clips. Former players start chiming in. Some back Duncan hard. He's right, they say. The game has become too focused on individual glory. Others defend LeBron. One retired all-star says, let's be honest, Duncan had elite help his entire career. Let's not act like he did it alone. And here's where it gets really interesting. LeBron hasn't responded, not publicly. For a player who usually addresses everything, that silence is loud. Does he ignore it and look like he can't handle criticism? Or does he respond and risk looking defensive? Either way, it's a lose-lose situation, and everyone knows it. What makes this even crazier? This story hasn't even hit the major mainstream outlets yet. It's still living in basketball circles, on social media, on podcasts, on YouTube. But once ESPN picks it up, once the morning shows start talking, once casual fans hear about it, this thing is going to explode. And it raises a much bigger question. Did Duncan just open the door for other legends to speak up? Will voices from past eras start pushing back against the idea that modern basketball is somehow tougher or more meaningful? This isn't just about LeBron and Duncan anymore. This is about how greatness gets remembered. This is about whether humility and team success still matter in an era dominated by personal brands and constant self-promotion. This is the old guard quietly drawing a line in the sand. Because here's the truth, Duncan didn't have to say anything. He could have stayed silent like he has for 20 years, but he chose to speak, and that choice tells you everything about how far the conversation has drifted. When the most humble champion in basketball history feels compelled to defend his era, defend the way the game used to be played. Maybe it's because something fundamental has been lost. So here's the real question. Is Tim Duncan right? Is LeBron pushing too hard to sell his greatness? Or is this just an older generation refusing to accept change? And if the quietest champion in NBA history felt the need to break his silence after 2 decades, what does that tell you about where basketball culture is headed? Because this isn't over. LeBron will respond, eventually. Other legends might jump in. This could turn into the biggest legacy war the NBA has ever seen. And it all started because one man decided he'd had enough of revisionist history. The GOAT debate was never just about basketball. It's about identity. It's about which era you grew up in. It's about what you value. Stats or rings, individual brilliance or team success, loud excellence or quiet dominance. Tim Duncan stood for everything the old guard believed in, and his response wasn't just about protecting his own legacy, it was about defending an entire philosophy of winning. Whether you agree with him or not, you have to respect it. He waited 20 years to speak, and when he finally did, every word landed. That's power, that's legacy, and that's why this moment matters way more than another GOAT argument. If you want to catch these stories before they hit ESPN, before the mainstream media reshapes them, you know what to do. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, stay locked in. We're breaking this down before anyone else. No filters, no spin, just the real story behind the headlines. Drop your take in the comments and let's see where this goes. Because something tells me the quiet storm Tim Duncan just unleashed, it's only getting louder.